Samsung, one of the most expensive bricks on the market. And a few months ago, I made a video ranking every Samsung base edition. Some of you were impressed, and others were depressed. One guy even told me to never rank again. And since I always take your advice, today we're ranking every Samsung Ultra model. From the S20 to the S26, from the peak to the weak, from the prime to the crime, from the class to the absolute
Just start, bro!
So, let's start. Let's start with the S20 Ultra. This was the first Galaxy S to carry that name. Before that, Samsung releases were a big mess. If you go back to the S7, you'll find that Samsung usually introduced two lineups per year: the S7 base and S7 Edge, the S8 base and S8 Plus, the S9 base and S9 Plus. But when reaching the S10, Samsung released 4 models, and later 5 to celebrate the 10th year anniversary: the S10e, the S10 base, the S10 Plus, the S10 5G, and later the S10 Lite. This created some confusion for the fans. What does E stand for? Is the Plus better than the 5G? So Samsung decided to put an end for this problem, came up with a simple classification, and skipped 9 numbers ahead, so the phone number matches the releasing year. The S20 Ultra came in 2020, and when released, everyone was amazed by the new design and the 120Hz display quality. Before that, everyone was used to 60Hz screen, but with this new upgrade, Samsung was literally mopping the floor with Apple iPhones. Scrolling became insanely smooth, especially with the huge 6.9-inch screen. That same size also made it very difficult to use with one hand. From a performance side, the phone was a monster, though it also depended on whether you had an Exynos or a Snapdragon version. Battery capacity reached new levels, and 8K video recording was finally introduced. The back camera had also a massive upgrade. Actually, the word upgrade doesn't even fit here. Samsung literally rebuilt the entire back camera for the S20 Ultra. The phone had a 108 megapixel main camera, which alone could rank it as a legend if it didn't have an autofocus problem. But the real hype about this phone didn't come from what we previously said. The real reason people got this phone in the first place came from a small sentence printed on the back: 100x space zoom. And if that statement was true, NASA could literally just ditch its equipment and buy an S20 Ultra instead. But in reality, it had some hype to it. The zoom was very powerful, but half of the work was done by AI to help clear the image. But what was not clear was why the hell is that phone cost $1,400? Apple itself didn't have the balls to sell at that price. But for all its upgrades and legacy, the S20 Ultra deserves a spot with the greatest. The S20 actually good is enough. The S21 Ultra came a year later, but it's not the second Ultra on this list, because 5 months after the S20 Ultra release, Samsung reused that name again for the Note 20, and sadly, it was the last phone in the Note lineup. I want to rank it, but I prefer to make a separate video about the Note rank. If you agree, let me know in the comments. The S20 we'll leave it for later. The S21 Ultra came a year later and fixed everything wrong with the S20 Ultra. Samsung here felt some shame about the previous price and lowered it by $200. Samsung probably took into consideration that the economy was more than cooked at that time, and if the original price had stayed the same, the majority of people wouldn't have been able to afford it. Design-wise, the phone stayed the same, but the back camera got a cool redesign. Instead of the ugly bumped rectangle, Samsung replaced it with a metal frame that naturally blended with the phone. From the performance side, everything stayed the same, but with more upgrades. Same giant display, same 108 megapixels camera, same 5000 milliamp battery, and the same 100x space zoom. But Samsung here finally fixed the autofocus problem, added 10x optical camera to enhance the zooming, and boosted the performance with a 5nm Snapdragon and Exynos chip. The big W for this phone was the S Pen support. Historically, the Note series dominated this feature alone, but with the S21 Ultra, it became the first Galaxy S to support this feature, and was also the first to permanently kill the microSD slot. Not only that, but also removed the earbuds and charger from the box following Apple's trend. For context, just a year before, Samsung was completely against this move, and criticized Apple for doing it. But when the S21 was released...
Speaking of things that are gone, no headphones or charger in the box confirmed. iPhone 12 was a huge domino to fall, so now don't expect a power brick in a flagship phone from here on out.
But rather than that, the S21 Ultra is definitely one of the legends. The S22 Ultra marked one of Samsung's most historical moments, because when this model was released, everyone understood that Samsung would no longer make new Note phones. Actually, if Samsung hadn't named it a Galaxy S, we would surely mistake it for a Note 22. The phone was launched in February of 2022 at a starting price of $11.99. If you compare the Ultra design with the rest of the family, you'd probably assume it's a stranger. Design-wise, Samsung was cooking. Flat bottom and top, rectangular corners, curved screen, a new camera shape, and a new S Pen slot. And for the last one, Samsung truly deserves some credit. The S Pen implementation in the S21 Ultra was a complete mess. The phone supported that feature, but you had to buy the pen separately, and even if you did, the 21 Ultra didn't have an S Pen slot, so you had to buy another accessory. The S22 Ultra, however, came with a built-in slot and S Pen included, but the biggest flaw in this device was surprisingly the performance. Samsung equipped the S22 Ultra with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 and Exynos 2200. People bought the phone and were happy by the performance, but few weeks later, overheating complaints started showing. Under normal use, the phone was fast and excellent, but once you start gaming or doing a heavy work, the phone started having fever. The performance slips down and battery starts sinking, but the big scandal was still coming. After acknowledging the overheating problem with the S22 Ultra, Samsung secretly used a game optimization service. This service was aggressively throttling the performance on thousands of apps and games to prevent the phone from overheating. Your phone was no longer overheating, but the performance was a piece of shit. To know how big this scandal was, Samsung's CEO himself apologized and bowed publicly. But as a respect for the Note legacy and for the cool upgrades, I would rank this phone with the greatest. One of the best smartphones of 2023 was, and without any doubts, the S23 Ultra. If I can summarize this phone in one sentence, I would say the S22 Ultra, but on steroids. Samsung here didn't bother to change the design because it was already perfect, but focused mainly on fixing the S22 problems and improving the performance. The first W here was in the processor. Exynos chips finally saw the door, and Samsung made the Snapdragon processors the default worldwide, which meant no more discrimination between the US version and rest of the world. The phone became faster and more efficient. Samsung even announced that it will support ray tracing for heavy mobile games. Overheating was no longer a problem, and the battery was optimized to last longer even under immense pressure. The back camera also got a huge upgrade. Instead of the 108 megapixel camera on the back, which was already great, Samsung replaced it with an even better one, reaching 200 megapixel for maximum details. And speaking of details, I think most of you remember the moon controversy, but if you don't, this phone has a funny story with moon pictures. When users tried to capture the moon at night using the 100x space zoom, the pictures were always clean and high quality. And that's weird, considering that zoomed pictures doesn't usually reach even half of this quality. But when the truth came out, controversy started. Samsung trained the S23 Ultra on moon stock pictures, and when you tried capturing a shot of the moon, the AI inside was adding its own details. So it's like when you tell a lie and your friend starts adding to the story. But other than that, this phone is definitely the greatest Samsung of all times. The S24 came in 2024 and marked a big shift in Samsung's priorities. As we saw before, every year Samsung was either making a radical change or just enhancing the previous model. But this time, Samsung completely shifted its focus and became obsessed with a new trend called AI. Actually, Samsung was not alone on this. The whole industry suddenly had an AI fever.
In the era of AI,
The S24 Ultra, however, brought some noticeable upgrades. First one is the $100 increase. It may seem like a small hike, but counting taxes and higher storage, the phone was easily reaching the $1,500. The S24 Ultra was the first Galaxy to have titanium frame, which made it durable and more scratch resistant. Gorilla Armor feature was also introduced, which made the display more resistant to reflections outdoors. Not only that, but the brightness limit also jumped to a new record, reaching 2,600 nits. However, the removal of the 10x camera and the flat design sparked some real debate. The previous models had slightly some curves on the sides, but the S24 Ultra came completely flat. Personally, I liked this change. Screen protector installation was a nightmare with curved edges, but with the new flat design, it became straight easy. The performance was extremely fast as usual, thanks to the new Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 that was made exclusively to support the new AI feature. Samsung promised to support this phone with 7 years of updates, which will end till 2031. And for that, this phone deserves a place with the greatest. list. Hey, don't sleep, I'm still explaining. The S25 Ultra came the year after, and was a copy-paste of the S24 with fewer upgrades. Samsung with the S24 and S23 reached peak innovation, and the S25 Ultra was just a polishing of existing features with more sprinkles of AI. Design-wise, the phone kept the same identity. Flat display, built-in S Pen, and titanium frame. Some users were annoyed by the 90-degree corners on the 24 Ultra, so Samsung here adjusted the corners and made them more rounded. The real upgrade, however, was in performance, and actually, after the S23 and S24 Ultra, people had become numb to these upgrades. Phones got so fast that no one started feeling different. The ultra-wide camera got also a strong upgrade, jumping from 12 megapixels to 50 megapixels, giving wide photos more quality and details. The only controversy in this phone was the S Pen Bluetooth integration removal, but other than that, good is enough. The S26 is the latest Samsung release at the time of making this video, and here, I can't help but talk about one of the best features I've seen in a Samsung phone, the privacy display. Unlike the privacy screen protectors you find in the market, this one was integrated directly into the display. When you activate it, you become the only one that can see what's on your phone. The person next to you that's trying to look with a side eye will only see the dark. I think it's very useful in buses or public transport, although I doubt that someone with an S26 Ultra would take a bus. The biggest two W's here are charging speed and camera stabilization. First one is simple. The S26 Ultra is the first Galaxy to support 60-watt super fast charging, which can charge up to 75% in less than 30 minutes. And second one is the 360 horizontal lock stabilization. Even if you stick it to a wheel and start it rolling, it will give you a clear footage. So for all these features, I would rank it with the greatest. I think we ranked everything, but one is still missing. It's you. I would rank you as a legend for making it this far. But to join the GOATs, don't forget to like and subscribe. Before I go, there's one more person I would like you to meet. I'll be touching some grass for the next few videos, so while I'm gone, he'll be taking over.
Thanks, Vongard. And while he's busy touching grass, let me know what you want for the next video, ranking every Google Pixel or every Galaxy Note.
This was your host, Vongard from Vongard, and thanks for watching.